Hi, I'm Melissa Jones, racing correspondent from the Gloucestershire Echo.
And my name's Catherine Fry. I'm a racing correspondent based here in Cheltenham. A mare that's very close to both of our hearts, Melissa, Annie Power. People will say it wasn't the greatest champion hurdle ever run. It wasn't, but what you can't take away from was the manner in which she did it. Jumped every hurdle absolutely spot on, bounced out, made all. Though, as we both of us said beforehand, annoying a lot of people, we said that there was no horse in the field that could give her £7.
That's it, we did.
I think you could hear the pair of us shouting pretty much throughout the race.
The press box was pretty alive,
I
say.
It was absolutely sensational to watch. She was wonderful. Also, another standout performance, I'm going, like it's all out on the girls for this one. Thought Nina Carberry's performance on the Fringe and the Fox Hunters was just unbelievable. It was one of the rides of the season for me. You know, the horse was always in the wrong positions. It looked impossible at one point, but she brought him home. And we have to mention Victoria Pendleton coming home in fifth in the Fox Hunters. What an achievement that was. It's just, you know, to go from never sat on a horse to riding under rules and riding over fences is absolutely brilliant. And she had a lot of naysayers, a lot of knockers, but you know what, fair play to her. No one's ever going to take the fifth in the Fox Hunters away from her. Now, I was actually against Black Lion in the RSA,
and me.
purely because I thought he'd had a series of hard races and
It was grueling at Wetherby.
Yeah, but what a hardy animal. To come to Cheltenham and do that, and the RSA is always a tough race, and to come off the back of the season he had to do that really showed great heart and tenacity, and one on the score sheet for the locals as well. And of course it turned out to be a great day as well for them, didn't it, with them taking the bumper as well. So I'd say that would be my Gloucestershire highlight. It's just a very heartwarming and tenacious victory.
I have a soft spot for the veterans, I've got to admit. I thought that Annie Currency's victories were just something else, really. As a 13-year-old, he loves the cross country, but you thought his chance had gone. You write them off at your peril, really. But he's clearly a veteran loving life, and it was a sight to behold to see him win at the festival and the April meeting.
I'd like to give a little filly a mention. The Jazz Girl. I've been so impressed with her in Ireland this season, because she was beaten by none other than Apple's Jade in Leopardstown. I thought she was sensational at Fairyhouse over Easter, and then again at Punchestown last week.
And you've been a long time fan of her.
Yeah, I mean,
what do you like about her as a horse?
She's robust, and I know it's quite bizarre to say that about a 4-year-old filly, but I know you can almost see that engine. She's by Jeremy, of course, which is the sire of Arconnor, and it does seem that, strangely for a Jeremy as well, she will go on good ground. She won on good ground last week, and she does have a little bit of a look of the late Arconnor about her as well, with the big white face. And I think she's sensational. I really do. And to see that victory last week, all right, she was getting all the allowances. She was getting the weight allowance. She was getting the sex allowance. You know, she was in receipt of over a stone. And I didn't, again, like we said about Annie, I didn't think there was a horse in that field that could give her that weight, and there wasn't. But it's more, she just digs in deep, and she's got that will to win. You know, that just always remember learning about racehorses as a kid, that their courage and their heart when they want to give it their all, and she's got that in abundance.
From October with the Charlie Hall to April, May, the Bet365 meeting. There's plenty of Grade 1 and Grade 2, Grade 3 action throughout the season. But for me, the highlight has to be Sprinter Sacre in the Grade 2 Desert Orchid Chase at Kempton over Christmas. Arguably wasn't quite his best, but the defeat of Sire de Crugy was a narrow one, but he had to battle and show all that old heart. I thought at the Open, and he ultimately was impressive at the Open meeting this season. He was impressive, wasn't he? But behind him, there was Summersby, Simply Nail.
I thought it was a flash in the pan.
And I thought you could crab that form.
Yeah.
I thought that may be his sort of swan song. That was it. That was his last kind of defining performance. But did he prove us wrong?
He did. He definitely proved me wrong anyway, because the Queen Mother the year before, it was probably one of the saddest sights I'd ever seen, him being pulled up in the Queen Mother. And to come back from that to win it, to regain his crown a year later, yeah, it's unbelievable. And I think Channel 4 did that, The Impossible Dream.
It was.
Yeah.
It was just, heartwarming to see, and the reception he got at Cheltenham when he won the Queen Mother was tremendous. It was one of those moments, if you were there, such as when Annie Power fell at the last hurdle, you'll never quite forget it.
Yeah.
As soon as you go back there to Cheltenham the following year, all the emotions come back, and you think, there's such a special place, and especially with the grandstand development now, just so much more of an amphitheatre. And even though it was good before, but it's just they've put a seal on it.
They have, definitely.
He's suddenly given up, and it's sort of a case of he's has left as quick as he's arrived. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing from a sort of punting point of view is you sort of bet them with supreme confidence during the summer and the start of the national hunt season when the ground is still good. Luckily, if you've had a nice summer, but when it sort of came to the real winter ground and grueling winter ground, say at a place like Cheltenham when you're travelling uphill, I don't think it suited the type of horses that he had.
No.
So it was a surprise how quickly it folded, but I kind of can see the reasons behind it, and of course his role with Godolphin and everything like that. I'd say there's many a contributing factor.
I mean, it's good to have sort of a hobby training all those nice horses, wasn't it?
Very nice
strike rate of 29%,
Yeah.
but it was a shock to the system for Aidan Coleman, I'm sure, but he's a very good jockey, and I'm sure something will come along. And I noticed that obviously John Joe O'Neill's using him a lot more.
Yes, yeah.
He's getting a lot more opportunities that he wouldn't have had with Ferguson because he was tied down to that commitment. So best of luck to him. But Catherine, your news that shocked you the most this season?
I've been racking my brains about this one. I can't say that anything in the season kind of made me go, but the one thing that did shock me was Q Card falling in the Gold Cup. So
the gas that went
not
down.
that, of course, you're talking about a horse running over fences, so it's a bit to say that they can't fall, but I wouldn't have. Q Card's like your consummate professional. He's like your Christian, isn't he? When we were talking about this earlier, he's the sort of horse I'd put my toddler daughter on. He's just such a safe conveyance.
Now this category, the honours have to go to Annie Power. She was definitely my best punter of the season. Took a little bit of 3-1 with Betfred. They were pushing out a number of horses on the morning of the race, and Annie Power was resplendent in the Champion Hurdle. There's no doubt about it. I put her up at a preview earlier on, a week before in Bishop's Cleeve, and her just sprinting away from them. I didn't think there was anything that could give her £7. Of course, she's a super mare from the Willie Mullins yard, and she was just too good for them, Catherine. I mean, we were both shouting there from the rooftops.
Absolutely, yeah. Probably one of my best bets of the season as well.
I mean, 3-1. It was a gift.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people, the bookmakers were fair to take her on because they thought mare in Champion Hurdle, what's going on? One of the boys
I've
will
seen
beat her. But
people thought that she wouldn't have the pace dropping back to 2 miles, but I remember having a conversation a couple of weeks before the festival saying, yeah, but we're not talking about 2 miles at Aintree, we're not talking about 2
you
miles.
have to get a bit more at 2 miles,
Yeah.
don't you, and the Champion Hurdle.
Probably another good punt I had was Altior on the Supreme 6-1. Of course, the Min was all the rage, but I hadn't been that impressed with what I'd seen with Min. I thought he'd pulled too hard in his races, and the noises coming out from Team Mullins weren't what we heard about Vautour, Duvan. So,
and on that topic, I mean, Annie Power, they were talking about, she would have had the class and the speed to compete in the Champion. You always listen very carefully to what Willie Mullins says. He's very honest. I mean, like you said about Min, he's not a Vautour, he's not a Duvan, that kind of thing. You're thinking, the vibes here aren't that good. But Annie Power, he was confident that she could be a superstar.
I wanted Annie Power to run in the Champion Hurdle 2 years ago, but of course they had Hurricane Fly, and so she went to the World Hurdle and just failed in that. But that was, what was that? That was 2014. So I'd always liked Annie in a Champion Hurdle. I think obviously the back end of the Irish national season also had quite a nice touch at Punchestown Jazz Girl and Vroom Vroom Mag in a double, so that was quite nice.
Mm-hmm. That rounded off the season nicely, I imagine. Hope for more of the same next season. Now we're delving into our secrets now, our worst bet of the season. And mine, as many of you know on Twitter, I've been a massive fan of Vautour. Of course, he's let the form book down a little bit of late. You know, he hasn't they've mixed around the trip with him and that, and I'm convinced he's still a Gold Cup horse. I'll maintain that for next season, but he has to be my worst bet of the season, unfortunately. Backed him several times in the King George. I don't regret it, but I did at the time slightly because he did look home and hosed, although Ruby Walsh did go quite quick. Q Card was closing, Don Cossack fell. I still thought Vautour would last it out at the last fence, but it wasn't to be. Q Card came with a wet sail somehow under a very determined Paddy Brennan and collared him on the line, so that was a bit of a dampener on Christmas, really, Catherine.
Yeah, my worst bet was ante-post. I thought I was really clever with this as well. I had backed Manila Rocco ante-post at 20-1 for the RSA.
Oh no.
And that was obviously not the no bet.
That's the thing with ante-post, isn't it? I don't know whether you find it quite frustrating. I very rarely have ante-post bets now because you just don't quite know where they're going to run. I mean, I would have backed Vautour for the Gold Cup. I didn't in the end. I chickened out. But I'm glad I didn't. Because, I would have added to my King George losses. So it's not ideal. But if you can get the value there, like as you said, Manila Rocco would have been a good price. What price did you get?
1 for the RSA because I was convinced that
he really showed a lot of promise, didn't he? And you're just second guessing trainers sometimes, and it could be a bit of a nightmare.
That was after the Reynoldstown as well.
Oh right, okay, yeah. Oh, it wasn't too early in the season. No. Right. Gosh. Well, hopefully we won't have too many of them in 2016-17.
So one of the most intriguing horses that I think Willie Mullins has for the 16-17 national season is actually a filly called Mystic Theatre, who's been running in point to points in Ireland and doing very well in that sphere. He runs in the colours of Colalta Vic, and I understand is going to be joining Willie Mullins. I've managed to see the footage of her latest point win, which looks pretty decent to my untrained point eye anyway.
Always exciting though when one joins Mullins and
it's
is
the
this
whole
the next
thing, the colours and going to Willie obviously, and the fact that she does look a pretty decent tool, and Colalta Vic himself obviously coming back.
You're a long time admirer.
I love Colalta Vic, and he was out of the race at Leopardstown, and to win it was just incredible.
Yeah, it was something that you don't see very often.
No, I don't think I've ever seen that. And Roby both feet out the irons, just kicking for all that he's worth home. And obviously Colalta Vic, former festival winner. Where's Willie going to put him?
Yeah,
I mean, in his embarrassment of riches, where is Colalta Vic going to go? And of course Colalta Vic has beaten Thistlecrack.
And that's a nice bit of form, obviously, with him, having the world at his feet still after winning the World Hurdle and all his highlights this season. But for me, it has to be Apple's Jade, and I did have a small bet on her in the Triumph Hurdle after I heard from a shrewd Irish source that this horse might be something special from Willie Mullins' yard, but a lot of punters hadn't latched on at that stage. I think she was maybe around 12-14 to 1 mark. A little bit each way, and I did think she was going to win it. She was cruising along, and then the fellow Irish rival Ivanovic Gorbatov appeared on the outside, and he literally just had a better turn of foot. And if you watch them, she's not letting the gap get any bigger as they run to the line. I mean, he did quicken past, put a few lengths between them, but she's keeping on, and then she's literally
twice now.
I mean, she won by, I think it was something like 41 lengths at Aintree. I mean, that's unheard of, isn't it, in juvenile company? They're normally having a bit of a scrap late on and finishing in a bit of a heat, but she was imperious
and
there.
Again, I mean, what a tough filly. She's done all 3 festivals.
And she's born in April as well, so by the time next festival comes around, I think she'll be 4 still. So she'll still be only very young. But to have that amount of racing, the only slight concern is that will they leave their mark on her? Because she's a young horse. But the way she's done it, I mean, she's got such a high cruising speed. I love her. She's Brian Cooper now. I think at the festival, perhaps he thought that he kept kicking and kicking, didn't he? He didn't manage to get a breather into her, as sometimes the races like that are there. But I think he learnt a lot from that himself, and she hadn't run, I don't think, many times for Willie Mullins either, so they're learning about her all the time, and she just seems to be, she's got better and better, and she could be the real deal. I mean, personally, I might see her going to the Mares Hurdle, but she's quite well fancied for that at the moment for next year. But it remains to be seen.
Put her in the champion.
Who do you think?
I'd love to.
Another. I mean, looking at all the stars, it could be a absolute feast of action in the champion hurdle.
Good mares in the champion hurdle.
Yeah, it could well be. I mean, if that does happen, it'll be quite a race to savour. Right, a couple to keep you going through the summer months. I know you're all desperate to get back to National Hunt in the miserable autumn weather just to see these fabulous animals, but I'm going to be quite boring really and put up Forheen in the champion hurdle around the 2-to-1 mark with Paddy Power. Of course, he does have to come back from that suspensory injury that he did have, which ruled him out of his trying to win back-to-back champion hurdles. Of course, Annie Power was the super sub, but Forheen, of course, he does have the track record. As long as he's back to his best, which Willie Mullins thinks he will be, I do think he can see off all these pretenders. Of course, Annie Power was very impressive, but I just think he's something else.
Do you think he can give us 7?
Yeah, I do.
Really?
I do. I love Annie Power. And as you said, she's amazing. But I just think he's electric. To me, he reminds me of another Istabrack. I think he's that good.
Oh, he's good. I mean, what I like about Forheen is the way he sometimes he'll just bulldoze one out of the way if he doesn't fancy jumping in, and still gets the other side and still maintains his momentum.
And that would be a concern, wouldn't it, if you're taking 2-to-1, I suppose. But I don't think
you can't take his champion hurdle win away from him. He is an absolute machine.
In what could be a vintage renewal, I do think he still have that slight edge on them, because what Willie Mullins is going to do with all these horses, it remains open to question at this stage. Of course, it's such a long way off. We're only second guessing what will run in the champion hurdle. Of course, in the market at the moment, there's all sorts of horses. You know, there's of course Annie Power. They've got Vroom Vroom Mag in there, Apple's Jade, because no one quite knows what's going to pan out, how it's going to pan out next season. Will Forheen come back to his best? But I think he will. He's just something else. I do think that he will put them all to the sword there. Okay. As long as he's 100%. I know you disagree.
I'm going to go for Zabana for the Ryanair without.
A bit more value than
with that's I'm banking on the fact that Vitor either goes Gold Couple, Queen Mother. Mm-hmm. So with no Vitor in the Ryanair, then Zabana.
Disappointing he didn't have got to run at the festival. Those shenanigans.
I still can't talk about that.
Yeah, it was bizarre.
Kids on my mic was turned off then as well.
That's it. Yeah, I remember talking to David Russell on the way back, and
he was pretty annoyed, weren't they?
Yeah, he was quite contained, really, should we say. But another ante-post bet, but this time, folks, a bit more value. It's going to be Barters Hill in the JLT. I mean, Ben Paulin's been umming and ahhing for ages whether he's going to step him back to 2.5 miles, and I do think that is the right move. Of course, connections might have a different view, but his owners, for example. But I do think Barters Hill is a 2.5 mile horse. He's not slow. I do think he'll relish fences. I don't think he respects hurdles at all, and he just clatters through them. He doesn't make a nice shape. I do think he's got the scope and the physical strength to become a nice chaser, and he's got that class form. Of course, he's been beaten in all those different runs, but you can get 25-1 with Bet365 for the JLT, which I think is a pretty fair shout. It is. I mean, the horse wasn't his best at the festival. I know that for a fact. Yeah. And of course, David Bass was very, very disappointed with that run. The horse had a hold up beforehand. They know he's much better than that, and over fences, he definitely could be a decent force next year. And people have forgotten about him now. They think, that was the end of his run. He's been pushed aside, but. No, we retain the faith. He's a nice outsider. And have you got a second one, Catherine?
I haven't at the moment, actually, but I do agree with everything you're saying about Barters Hill. Definitely, I think he gets a lot of unfair criticism.
I know. What more can a horse do?
Yeah. And he wasn't right at Cheltenham, and still at one stage looked as though he was going to win. I said just hope that hasn't left its mark, but to kind of be pushed out to those type of prices is a bit crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
And him rolling around sort of after the last, he just looked so tired.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
It just wasn't himself. He would at his best. He would just keep.
It'd be like us running up the hill with a bad cold. You just wouldn't fancy it.
Yeah, just feeling a bit below par.
Yeah,
I don't think I'd run up that hill, I'd definitely get beaten more than fifth. Into
That'd
more than
be like
fifth
a good
place.
day, I think.
That's it, yeah. And a third one potentially, Nichols Canyon for the World Hurdle is another one I liked. I thought Connections might try and turn him into a bit of an English Streaver type. You know, that he won multiple World Hurdles for those Connections. But they do have to get him back to his best. He's been a little bit below par, but his champion hurdle form was excellent. And in a race, the World Hurdle, that always has the potential to cut up because of horses going to different races and maybe horses not good enough. For example, Colhard, a previous winner, ran well this year. Whisper has not come back to his best. Those sort of horses, there's definitely room for a new horse in there. Thistlecrack might go chasing, and Nichols Canyon might well be the value there at 10-1 with Coral.